Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and first up I want to say Happy New Year. We're entering 2018. Wow, it's already 2018, I can't even believe it. We will look at what's coming up for all of 2018 in my upcoming next monthly forecasting forum. So if anybody's interested in joining us for that live or via the video presentation, feel free to register for that. That's on January 3rd. I'll talk a little bit more about that as well towards the end of the video if you don't know what it's about. And I will also make some exciting announcements for 2018, so feel free to stay tuned until the very end of this video. Now, first let's talk about the upcoming full moon in 11.5 degrees of Cancer, which will be exact on January 1st, right with the beginning of the new year at 9:24 p.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, and at 6:24 p.m. Pacific time in the US, which is also LA time. Now, this will be another super full moon. So that means that the moon is closer to the Earth and therefore has more of a gravitational pull with the planet. And so what we feel is we feel on a physical, emotional, and psychic level, we feel that lunation much stronger than a regular full moon. Now, relationships of all kinds are highlighted during a full moon. That's always the case, but with this particular full moon, there is a strong emphasis on family and business relationships because we're talking about Cancer and Capricorn. With the sun in Capricorn for the past week and a half, we're now looking for a balance. And we're more aware that we need something to find a more balanced integration of the opposite energy of Capricorn, which is Cancer, right? And Capricorn teaches us to honor all aspects of the physical world, and it urges us to create and build something that lasts long term, and that's basically, if possible, good for everybody. If not, then at least it needs to last long term. Cancer, on the other hand, represents the formation of the emotional body. And so it's all about an understanding of our feelings and our needs. So this helps us really navigate through life by building an awareness of what is healthy or what is harmful to us, right? And that we learn that usually at a very, very early age in our upbringing with our family of origin. Now, in order to emerge as healthy beings, we really need to be able to nurture ourselves, take care of our feelings and our inner baby. I call it the inner baby. Yet we also need to be able to evolve into responsible adults, and we need to be able to provide for ourselves and others out there as well. And that's more connected to the Capricorn energy, right? Now, Capricorn asks us to step into our own power and be mature to the point where we no longer need to look outside of ourselves for approval or validation. And that helps us in becoming more masterful about our lives. So it's really about self-mastery, being able to really master our fears, being able to master, who we're out there in the world, being able to do things on our own, manifest on our own, be our own creators. Now, the questions you can ask yourself here is, am I more connected to what nurtures me or to my shoulds? And shoulds are really all the things that we think we ought to be doing or that we ought to be achieving. Things that either society has told us or our parents have told us or any other authority figure has told us. So we need to really check in with ourselves and be really honest with ourselves here. Am I connected to what nurtures me out there in the world, or am I connected to my shoulds? And does my current environment support my inner growth? Because how we live, where we live, it very much indicates if we're able to actually grow and evolve and be ourselves out there in the world. So does it provide me with nourishing bonds to others? Do you have an environment where you can connect with other people, where you can trust other people, where you can feel support and nurturement? Because all of that is also going to impact how we're out there in the world. Now, all the questions from this video, as always, are also available on my website at astrologercoach.com. So if you are interested in like meditating with the questions or journaling on them, or just sitting with them and just having them around for the next 2 weeks so you know what to kind of tap into with the energies, then feel free to check out my website and go via my weekly forecasts after December 31st. You can check it out there, or you can also sign up to receive them via email in the future by sending us an email to info@astrologercoach.com and then just write weekly forecasts in the subject line, and then my assistant will add you to that mailing list. All right. Now back to the full moon. Cancer, which is what the full moon is in. Cancer is all about healthy roots, and Capricorn is about sharing the fruits of our labor. So both signs are actually feminine in nature. They're both receptive energies. And so it really requires of us to generate from the inside out. And this is true for Cancer and Capricorn. And with Capricorn, sometimes we forget that because we're so focused on manifesting and achieving something in the outside world that it doesn't seem like a feminine sign. But Capricorn is very interested in doing what's truthful and in alignment with us and what we personally feel connected with. So that means it has to come from the inside. The manifestation comes from the inside and then it becomes external. So Capricorn is definitely a feminine sign. Now the full moon illuminates the shadow sides of each sign as well as its path towards greater spiritual alignment. So what you can ask yourself for the next 2 weeks, am I taking too little or too much responsibility in a particular area of my life? So wherever Capricorn is in my chart, in my birth chart, am I taking too little or too much responsibility there? When do I have a tendency to blame, shame, or feel guilty? When do I tend to get defensive, right? Where we have Cancer maybe. You know, where do I need to set better boundaries? Again, Cancer, Capricorn, that polarity, that axis in our own birth chart, that's very powerful. It's a very powerful axis, right? So we need to ask ourselves and be very honest with ourselves as we're investigating this. And this is really just about investigating to get to the truth. You know, it's not about judging ourselves. It's not about, you know, punishing ourselves or becoming self-critical. It's really more about being able to see what's true, and that awareness can be extremely helpful. Now, in order to develop a healthy inner Capricorn energy, we must learn to listen to our feelings and honor our needs and not disregard them. And this is something obviously that has a lot to do with how we were raised, because if we were raised in a family or in an environment where our feelings were honored, where our needs were honored, that's going to be a lot easier for those people, right? If that's not the case for you, if you were born into a family where your family wasn't capable of giving you that, then it is very important to now do this for yourself, to really learn to reparent yourself and learn for yourself how to honor your feelings, how to honor your needs, how to detect them even, how to know what they are, right? And only then we can build something that's of value and we can move towards mastery out there in the world. Now you can ask yourself here, where or when do I tend to look for permission outside of myself? And in what moments of my life have I abdicated or projected my authority onto other people? And just sit with that question. You don't have to answer any of these questions right away. This is not a quiz. It's really more an investigation, right? And how important is status, control, or winning to me? And as best as you can with these questions, just be really honest with yourself here. And it's not about shaming yourself. It's not about criticizing yourself. Again, it's really just about getting to the truth so we can be a little bit more self-aware and so we can cultivate greater self-mastery. Cancer seeks to create a sense of home and family as well. So the experience of nourishing bonds and surroundings that support our growth, that's very important to Cancer. And so here you can ask yourself, when do I have the tendency to hold on to the past? So depending on, again, what type of family of origin we were brought up in, whether that's good or bad, when do we have the tendency to hold on to the past when it comes to these bonds, these nurturing bonds, whether they were good or bad, right? And when do I resist change? When does that happen in my life that I resist change? There's maybe a particular scenario where I'm more resistant than in other scenarios, because we're not always the same in each area of our lives or with each person in our lives. We have different responses to different people in different situations. So when do I resist change the most? And what happens when I don't allow myself to feel my feelings? And that's a very important one. And I just want to invite you to really ask yourself that honestly, and keep asking yourself that for the next 2 weeks. What happens when I don't allow myself to feel my feelings? Or what happens when I hold on to my feelings, when I get really attached to them and make them very, very precious? Because if it comes down to it, feelings is just information and it's energy that's there to just move through us, so we understand what's going on with us on an emotional level, that our emotional body is giving us certain answers to where we're at in the moment and what we can do with that. So as we cultivate our inner life, as we are really getting more connected to that part of ourselves, that feeling body, that understanding of what goes on internally, right? Our soul light really builds and radiates, and there's more nurturing present towards ourselves, towards other people. And we ultimately discover that our true home, what we call our home, it's not a building, it's not a room, it's not a place. It's actually the light inside of our own heart. It's the ability to really tap into, what's important to us, what we need, what we feel, what nourishes us. And that's the place in our heart. And so this full moon really points to several energy patterns that tell us a little bit more about how we can connect to that inner light. Now, the first one is the grand trine in water that is present at the time of the full moon, which is the moon in Cancer, Neptune in Pisces, and Mars and Jupiter in Scorpio. And those three, or those four planets actually, in those three signs, they create a really beautiful grand trine. And a grand trine is always a supportive energy connection. It's like the energy flows. These signs support each other, they understand each other. So this really brings a feminine emphasis, because it's the water signs, right? It brings a feminine emphasis towards the flow of compassion, our psychic and intuitive sensing, and a desire for emotional fulfillment and empowerment within our relationships. So this is a really beautiful flow, and this grand trine will support us in raising our vibrations if we choose to do so. So it's important that if we're taking responsibility for where we're at, then we get to really raise our vibrations and tap into these feminine energies. And it will make it easier for us to embrace our shadow issues, things that have been suppressed or denied. We get to redefine them. We get to feel them in a different way. We get to maybe re-experience them in a different way. We get a chance to bring awareness and acceptance to places in us that have felt closed off to the public and neglected or ignored. Things that we've kept very private. We're more capable now to maybe talk about it, to explore it, to ask for support. And seeking help from a trusted support system or healers during this process is not only recommended, it's also a really wise choice to make if we seek to heal our insecurities and places of disconnect that we feel from within. Because, each of us has experienced that as human beings, right? That we feel sometimes disconnected. We feel sometimes like we're not able to feel this nice flow within ourselves or with other people. And so in order to heal that, this is a really good time now to use this grand trine and use the support of healers or other people or other systems that you trust. So for the next 2 weeks, ask yourself, what if I listened, nurtured, and treated myself with respect, understanding, and love? And what would I be guided to do if I did that? And how might others benefit from that? And so again, these questions, they're just great questions to meditate with or journal on or just sit with. You don't have to answer them right away. And you also don't have to use all of the questions. You know, use the questions that resonate most with you, that you feel most in alignment with, the questions that kind of like hit you like, ooh, yeah, I want to investigate that a little bit further, right? Use those questions throughout those next 2 weeks. Now, the second energy pattern that's present with this full moon chart is a stellium in Capricorn, because we have a lot of planets in Capricorn right now. The sun is in Capricorn, which aligns with Pluto, Venus, and Saturn in Capricorn. So because Capricorn is the third earth sign in astrology, at its highest vibration, Capricorn really seeks to create forms that are based on spiritual truths, on our own spiritual truths. And that is that all matter, everything that's physical, is composed of energy particles, same as light, same as air, same as, you know, everything is really energy particles, and so is matter. And that it is also our collective duty to use all of this energy responsibly. That's what really Capricorn is all about, you know, to understand, you know, the connection of all things and use that energy responsibly. And so we can ask ourselves, what am I likely to manifest in my own world that is currently in alignment with the energy particles that are a part of my creative process every day? So what that means is, you know, if you think about energy particles, you know, you think about your thoughts, for example. Think about your feelings. Think about the words that you speak. Think about the actions that you take. Think about all those things, because all of that is energy. All of those are energy particles that are moving and that are moving from you into the world. And all of those energy particles, they create and manifest. So everything that comes from you is part of the creative process. So you want to really check in with yourself, like, am I doing this with awareness and with responsibility? Am I being mature when I'm actually putting out all these thoughts, feelings, words, actions? And it's not to say that, you know, you're supposed to suppress any thoughts or feelings that are not at its highest vibration, but you want to acknowledge what's there and release what doesn't serve you, and therefore then move into that higher vibration so that you can come from a place of highest intent and responsibility and integrity as you are creating what you want to be creating in the world. So we need to be really honest and truthful with ourselves, what's what and what's actually there for us. So we're being asked to bring conscious awareness to all these places in our lives that are connected to these planets in Capricorn. Essence and purpose, which is connected to Pluto. Our roles, rules, responsibilities, and boundaries, which is connected to Saturn. Our values and how we relate to ourselves and to others, which is connected to Venus. So all of this is something that we want to really bring conscious awareness to, because the sun is there to bring the light, to bring the conscious awareness. So this provides an opportunity to truly align with what brings us emotional and material security and stability in our world. And as best as you can, you know, focus on dedication, focus on wholeness and truth. Devote yourself to your true passions and to your heart. You know, we're more likely to want to work towards a goal or achieve things or give form or manifest something in the external world that aligns with all of those values, right? That is what's most responsible, and that is what's at the most highest vibration of Capricorn. And so ask yourself, what lies between me and my authentic self and my truthful, authentic self? And it's also worth noting with Capricorn, of course, that success and reward, which is a big part of the Capricorn energy as well, will come in direct proportion to the amount of authentic passion that we live out in the world, integrity, maturity that we bring to the world. And so we can ask ourselves here, where do I need to commit more deeply to what really matters? You know, what I feel really passionate about, what is really in alignment with me from the inside out. How authentic am I when it comes to my long-term goals? You know, when it comes to what I think I want to accomplish out there in the world, how authentic am I about that? In terms of, is it really mine, or is it something that I was told I should be doing, or something that was conditioned into me? Now, how passionate am I about my long-term goals? How truthful am I about all of this, right? So these are all great questions to sort of marinate with. And of course, as always with Cancer and Capricorn involved, you know, take baby steps, take your time, you know, slow down a little bit. You know, Capricorn does not want to go fast. Cancer certainly also doesn't want to go fast. It wants to make sure it feels right. So ask yourself, why would I sprint if I can get there at the perfect time by walking, right? I mean, that's a really fantastic question, because that's really Capricorn does not sprint. Capricorn walks and takes care with every step it takes. It makes sure that it's not stepping on something that it doesn't need or it doesn't serve. Now, where does the urge for rushing or getting there come from? And this is something we really honestly need to ask ourselves. Where does this urge come from that we need to get there, right? And is it based in fear or love? And this is a very important Capricorn question to ask. And this is going to be important pretty much for the next 3 years, because we will have Saturn in Capricorn, right? This needing to get somewhere or needing to get to our goals, is it based in fear or love? And what if I brought 5% more self-love and checking in with myself to every moment while I'm working towards my achievements? Again, very, very powerful question with that Saturn in Capricorn for the next 3 years. And if you want to know how Saturn's journey in Capricorn will impact you personally for that time until 2020, you know, feel free to purchase my 90+ minute webinar that I recorded in December. It's available on my website on the online courses page. And if you're not sure if you want to purchase that webinar or not, then feel free to watch a quick preview of the webinar, which is available also on my website or on YouTube. So you just need to look for Saturn in Capricorn until 2020, right? And then there will be a 30-minute excerpt of that webinar. All right, so feel free to watch that for free. Now, the third energy pattern that we need to talk about with this full moon video is the Pluto-Uranus square, which is only 5 degrees apart, again, from each other. And so we've been talking about this, you know, this square for quite a while, since, you know, pretty much since 2011 already. And now with Uranus, with the Uranus retrograde and the station phase that's happening right now at the time of the full moon, this square it feels very strong with this full moon chart again. So we're kind of like we're kind of like going back to what we've been experiencing already in 2012, 2013, 14, 15, 16, right? And so this square is an invitation for us all to make a giant step forward as individuals and on the collective level. But to understand that the collective operates the way it does because of each individual being a part of the collective, right? And so we're really ready for major changes in our own lives and on a global level with this square, right? And it's about progressive change. Each of us is stepping up, stretching ourselves, making a difference. It's like a one-by-one type of deal, right? Authenticity and individual self-expression are really paramount with this square. And the meaning of leadership is changing. And, we can see that in the world already, this is very clear from what we're seeing out there in politics, right? We all need to lead now. It's not about anymore one person leading. It's not about anymore there's only certain people who have the ability to do leadership. No, it's really important that we all tap into that for ourselves. So ask yourselves, where could I play a bigger game? Where am I being called to step up? And this aspect carries an extra charge with this full moon chart because Uranus is stationing direct at 24 degrees of Aries on January 2nd, which is only one day after the full moon becomes exact. So the planet is exalted at the time. It's very strong, right? So it really indicates that it's time for us to make a real, not just a cosmetic change in at least one area of our life. So wherever Uranus is in your birth chart, right, that area of your life, there is where we need to make a forward movement, right? And Uranus in Aries asks us to be bold, think for ourselves, and not be dependent on external approval. So ask yourself here, am I expressing my individuality to the fullest? Am I connecting to a larger vision for my future? Is anything holding me back from all of that, right? And if we insist on holding on to like a job or a relationship or a situation that we have outgrown in our lives, there might be some unexpected turns of events that may force us to really move into a new direction, right? So if that does happen, allow it to happen because it's good. It's for your highest good. Uranus is an outer planet, which means it is connected to our soul development, right? So our soul knows what's best for us. So we need to trust that if something shifts, even if we're not ready for that, it's for our highest best, right? And the Uranus station, you can check in if you go back to when it started first going retrograde in August 3rd, beginning of August at 28.5 degrees of Aries. Think about those weeks right before and right after Uranus went retrograde in August. Ask yourself, what needs to change in my life, small or large? If I think back to those dates, like something was in my face around that time, it's in my face again now. What needs to change? And what is asking for a quantum leap? Where do I really want to move forward with something, right? Again, the house placement of Uranus in your chart will tell you more about that. I'll talk a little bit more about that also at the end of the video so you understand how to look that up. Now, as best as you can, with Uranus in Aries, be courageous, be brave, step out, work with your own astrological chart if you can, if you have it, if you know how to do that. Elevate your consciousness, create your own reality, and experience freedom from within. And ask yourself, where do I feel the desire to break free? Where have I denied myself permission to be free? How did it even happen? What's the conditioning that made me deny that, right? Where have I denied myself the permission to be unique, to be simply myself without having to fit in, without having to be like everybody else, right? Uranus is really about our own unique self-expression. It's about our uniqueness, our special, being our own creative genius out there in the world, right? Now, of course, also whenever a planet is stationing like that, it becomes more exalted. So with this much erratic energy like Uranus has, we will feel that moving through our bodies. And so we're really best off staying in movement and shaking out our bodies a little bit. Flexibility is definitely advisable with the Uranus station. Courage, self-empowerment is advisable. So these are all kind of watchwords that you can kind of think about for the next 2 weeks. And just remember, what you do for you, you do for everyone. And what you do for everyone, you do for you. So it doesn't matter where you focus. Just be courageous and step out. And you don't have to take giant steps either, right? Because Cancer the moon in Cancer will tell you what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So you can take baby steps. That's okay, right? Just step out anyways. Overcome that fear or that past conditioning of needing to stay small. Now, the last thing I want to talk about with this full moon chart is Mars, because first of all, Mars is the ruler of Aries. So with Uranus being exalted in Aries, the Mars energy will feel stronger as well. But Mars also being the archetype of desire and courage and willpower and assertion is currently in 15 degrees of Scorpio, conjunct Jupiter actually. But more importantly, it is squaring the moon nodes in Leo and Aquarius, just like Jupiter did 2 weeks ago at the last lunation, with the new moon in Sagittarius. Now, as I mentioned then already, squares mark turning points. So this is really a turning point for our collective spiritual journey. We're just switching. There's something that's shifting for us internally. And this is really asking us to find a balance between feminine and masculine energies within us. So when we look at this, taking in that it's in Scorpio, right? Mars in Scorpio, we can see that we're being invited to transform our inner masculine. And we can ask ourselves here, what does assertiveness look like when fear is not present? Because very often we think of assertiveness as either, having to be forceful, right? Or we think of it as like, ooh, I don't want to do that, right? So either way, there is some type of fear very often that's connected with assertiveness. So just check in with yourself if that is true for you, and maybe it's not, right? If that is true for you, what does assertiveness look like when fear is not present? And how can we use our masculine energies in an empowering way? Because the masculine energies have been so prominent and dominant, these past, 1,000, 2,000 years, that we're really now finally starting to see how that's harming us on an individual and collective level. And that we really need to create a balance between the feminine and the masculine. We need to find a healthy feminine and a healthy masculine to live side by side equally and beautifully, right? And so how can we use our masculine energies in an empowering way rather than a disempowering way? Now, in order to get to a place of greater joy on an individual and collective level, which is where we would like to go with the North Node in Leo, and one where we can truly feel grateful for our lives. Leo is all about gratefulness and gratitude. We need to first transform our approach towards passion, assertion, and leadership. So ask yourself, what does true leadership mean to me? And where could I locate this energy within me? Where can I locate leadership within me? And if I found it, what would I do with it? What would I do with leadership if I could locate that inside of me? And what small or large steps could I take to empower myself and others in my various communities? And I think those are really, really great and powerful questions. So if they resonate with you, definitely feel free to journal on them or meditate on them, right? Now, during this time of change that we're currently in, of course, and also transformation because of all the Scorpio energy and the Pluto energy, self-care is definitely worth our attention. It's important, actually. And so with the moon in Cancer, of course, there's definitely, we're being pointed towards that, right? Make sure that you get plenty of rest, that you get some affection in the world, that you get water, healthy nutritional food, that you really take care of your physical and emotional well-being. So to sum it all up for this full moon, Tap into your inner courage. Honor your feelings and needs so you can build something of value and share the fruits of your labor with the world. And you can ask yourself here, what would a balance between nurturing and self-care versus achieving my goals look like? What would that balance look like in my life, right? And am I doing what I want to do or what I think I should do? What I was told to do? What I was conditioned to want to do, right? So am I really doing what I want to do? Is that truthful to me? Is that energy in alignment with who I truly am? Or is it something that I think I should be doing? So as best as you can with all of these questions from beginning to end, whichever ones you use, be kind and gentle and compassionate and accepting with yourself, because that is for sure going to help the balance of that Cancer Capricorn polarity. All right. Now, if you have an ascendant, career point, or personal planets in 9 to 14 degrees of Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, or Libra, then you're certainly going to feel this full moon energy more fully, and it's going to be more potent for you. But even if you don't have those degrees or those signs in your birth chart, just take a look at the house placement of 11.5 degrees of Cancer Capricorn, right? Because that is equally as important, because those areas of your life will need some sort of integration or balance for the next 2 weeks. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, or you don't have a birth chart yet, then feel free to watch my video, How to Read Your Birth Chart. You can watch it either on YouTube, or you can email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and then my assistant will email that to you with some handouts. And towards the end of that video, I will let you know how to get a visual of your birth chart if you don't have one yet, for free online. And you will also learn how to apply what I share in my videos and weekly forecasts to your own birth chart, right? So it's a really great video to watch. It's a very short, like 30-minute class, and it's very easy to comprehend. So I really highly recommend watching it if you haven't seen it yet. And also it's a great video to watch right before joining the monthly forecasting forums if you haven't joined us yet. And before I talk a little bit more about my forums, I would like to make an exciting announcement about my business, which I already have made in the last couple of videos. I'm in the process of creating an amazing online community for all of you who love astrology, for all of you who simply want to explore themselves on a deeper level and live life more consciously, more purposefully, and feel more connected to themselves on an individual basis as well. And I mean, that's really what astrology is for, right? It's so supportive in making that happen for ourselves. And unfortunately, I still don't have an exact launch date yet for what's to come. But because it's all developing and it's coming very close to a launch date, I wanted to make sure that I let you guys know about it, because with the launch of that new online community, my prices and fees for my readings, my online astrology courses, my monthly forecasting forums, my coaching healing sessions, and everything that's available on my website currently will change. So I just wanted to make sure you guys know about that in advance. I want to offer you the opportunity to take advantage of the prices and fees as they currently are. And I will also honor all my services that you purchase right now before the new website goes up for a whole year, which normally is only good for 6 months. So that way, you guys, if you want to do multiple purchases, you can do that, and you will know that it's all good for a whole year, so you don't have to rush anything, okay? If you want to do that, go to my website right now at astrologercoach.com and check out what's available to you and what might be in alignment with what you want to explore for yourself and how you want to connect with astrology in what particular way, right? Now, let's talk about the monthly forecasting forums. For those of you in particular who haven't joined us yet and who don't know what they're all about, I just want you all to know that these forums that I've created them for the sole purpose that I wanted to make sure that more people have access to the supportive tool of astrology. This is supposed to be like a community of people who come together every month and who really look into their own charts with me together to see how the energies each month align with your own birth chart. So it's really the next best thing besides getting a one-on-one reading with me, and it's much more affordable, of course. Right now it's $24 until the new website goes up. So take advantage of this price right now, especially because we will be talking about what's coming up in 2018 for the whole year. We will do like a big overview of what the year is all about. And so this is going to be a fantastic forum to start with or to join, because I'm going to give you guys all the goodies of what to watch out for energetically speaking for the new year. And so again, this monthly forecasting forum will be on January 3rd at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is also New York time, and then 9 p.m. London time. All right. So it should be good for most all places, wherever you live, if you want to join live. If you don't want to join live, or if you can't join live, there will be a video presentation that will be available within 24 hours of the webinar that everyone gets as soon as you register, right? So as soon as you register, you will get that video presentation as well. So yeah, you can register on my website at AstrologerCoach.com. There's also a registration form at the bottom of the monthly forecasting forum page. So feel free to fill that out. Let me know if you want to join live or if you want to just get the recording. And again, all the questions from this video are also available on my website at AstrologerCoach.com via the weekly forecasts after December 31st. And you can also sign up to receive these weekly forecasts via email in the future if you email us at info@astrologercoach.com and just write weekly forecast in the subject line. And if you want to just sign up for the newsletter and not get emails every week, but you want to know about special offers or the videos or announcements that I'm making about my business or courses or anything else, then feel free to send us an email to info@astrologercoach.com and just write newsletter in the subject line. All right? So that's it for this full moon. Remember, full moon is an extroverted time. It's a time where we're looking to find the balance between two polar opposite energies. And so we're experimenting within our relationships with other people, within ourselves. And so take your time. You don't have to rush anything. Uranus will not be going direct until after the full moon. And if you have any general questions for me, I will take general questions only at Sonja@astrologercoach.com. That's SONJA@astrologercoach.com. If you have any personal questions that require me to pull up your birth chart, I will either ask you to book a reading with me on my website, or you can ask questions connected to what's coming up within the next 30 days or so when you join the monthly forecasting forum in January. All right, so have a fantastic, fantastic full moon. Happy New Year again, and happy 2018. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the webinar and talking to you about what's coming up for the whole year. All right, this is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.